Hi folks, Vipin here. Today we'll be talking about merchant banking. But before I start merchant banking, let me explain the minor difference between merchant banking and investment banking. Now, investment banking is a smaller division of merchant banking. Now, for example, a merchant bank which you would all be familiar with would be Goldman Sachs. Now, Goldman Sachs has got a smaller division that takes care of the investment banking part. Now, what do I mean by investment banking? Investment banking means you are a person who has a large amount of money and you want to make that money into a bigger pile of money. So you approach these institutions, you tell them, I will give you a particular quantity of money. How about you double them or triple them? Now, what these investment banking institutions do is they use other people's money, invest it in the stock market using various strategies, and end up giving returns. That's what investment banking is about. In some cases as well, yes, they do use the bank's funds itself in order to get returns. But in many cases, it is mostly third-party clients whose funds they use in order to get returns. So that's what investment banking is about. Merchant banking, on the other hand, is mostly related to a combination of banking and consultancy services. Now, it provides consultancy to its clients for financial marketing, managerial and legal matters. Now, let's say, for example, this company, KTM, which is an Austrian company, has to enter into an agreement with Bajaj Group. Now, in case you're familiar with the KTM company, which is having Bajaj manufacture the bikes, this agreement between the two companies must be structured through a legal procedure. Now, you can have the services of a merchant bank draft the document here, wherein they'll talk about what will be the compensation given by KTM to Bajaj, how will Bajaj manage losses, if any, will there be any technology transfer once the contractual agreement has been fulfilled. All these things need to be drafted into a proper contract. Now, the companies can draft the contract themselves, or they can approach a merchant bank which has a consultancy division that provides these services and makes it easier for the two parties to transact. There are other things as well which they do. Like, for example, you're a company which wants to reduce its cost. You're spending a large amount of money on certain unnecessary things, and you want to know how it is that you can cut back on your spending. Now, in that case as well, a merchant bank will send across a team. They will evaluate the procedures and then they'll say, okay, you need to cut back on the following process, and if you do, this is the amount of money you can save. That's also something which a merchant bank is into. Like the definition there says, they're into banking and consultancy services as well. Banking here, you can refer to it as money related transactions. Consultancy services, like the name says, say process improvement, improving service delivery, Six Sigma quality management. Even that's something which a merchant bank is into. Now, let's look at merchant banking from the Indian point of view. Now, SEBI has defined a merchant bank as an organization that is mostly into securities and issue management. In India, when you talk about an institution as a merchant bank, it is into securities and issues management. Now, for example, when you say securities management, one of the services that come under that is something called as custodial services. Now, custodial services here means you have a large amount of money which you cannot manage on your own for various reasons. Say money, assets in general, say land, building, all that. Now, since you can't manage it on your own, you give the authority to the bank to manage it on your behalf. Now, that's what you would refer to as a custodial service. In many cases, what happens is, if you're a large shareholder in a company, you might not be physically present when the company holds a meeting. In that case, remember, every share that you have counts for a vote. So you can't really skip a meeting because you're a large shareholder. In that case, you can have a custodian attend the meeting and cast your vote even though you're not physically present there. That's what they refer to as proxy. Even that is something which is a division of securities management. The others that we will be discussing today, for this video I have kept it restricted to issue management alone, because issue management itself is a pretty lengthy topic and I don't want to spend too much of time explaining everything which a merchant bank does. So let me come to what issue management actually is. Firstly, prospectus drafting. Now, when a company comes out with an IPO, the first thing that they need to do in order to inform the shareholders that they're doing this is through a offer document or a red herring prospectus, or just known as a prospectus. So what is a prospectus? A prospectus is a document which is drafted, which is given to the shareholders to invite them, the potential shareholders rather. It is given to these potential shareholders to invite them to invest their money in the company. Remember, this is just an invitation. If you are a person who has bought a company prospectus or you're reading a company prospectus, you're not obligated to invest in a company. But nonetheless, a prospectus must be drafted, and when you draft it, you need to be very, very careful in the way you put across the details in the prospectus. A prospectus, remember, don't confuse it with a college prospectus or a university prospectus. These prospectus are like 300, 400, sometimes 500 pages long. They have quite literally everything about the company history, the products that they make, the directors, what is it that the directors do, their qualification, their background, how much money the directors have in their bank accounts, is there any legal implications on the company, where are their divisions, what are the products that they are into, are there any products that didn't do very well. All these details is in fact published in the prospectus. So you need to be very, very careful when you draft something like this. As per the rules of SEBI, there is zero scope for error in a prospectus. This incident happened with Coal India Limited, wherein in the asset side of the balance sheet, the debtors and the stock value was interchanged. So let's say if there was 5,000 crores in the debtors section and the stock had 6,000 crores, it was supposed to be vice versa. Even though that doesn't affect the overall balance sheet value, Coal India Limited immediately came out with a public apology. They said that during the drafting of the prospectus there was a tiny typographical error. We will provide additional time to the potential investors if they want to rethink their investment in our company. Now that's a very carefully managed crisis by Coal India Limited, but as SEBI says, there is no scope for error in a prospectus. Then underwriting. Underwriting in simple terms refers to like an insurance for an IPO. If the company intends to sell, let's say 100 shares, and only 75 end up getting subscribed as in bought by the public, the balance 25 is something which the merchant bank will buy from their account. That's what they refer to as underwriting services. In some case, the merchant bank, who is also known as the lead manager or the book runner, they themselves might be the underwriter, or sometimes the underwriting might be outsourced or taken up by another company altogether. In many cases, what happens is underwriters are about 3 or 4. The reason that happens is because not one company wants to take up the burden on its own head. They rather distribute the burden on multiple companies rather than one company taking the entire load. That's what they refer to as underwriting. Now, underwriting on the other hand is a service which is given commission. So whether you are subscribing the unsubscribed capital or not, the company still ends up getting a commission for their service. And in India, many of the times I've noticed that the IPO becomes oversubscribed. Oversubscribed means a company would want 100 crores. The people are ready to give about 200 crores. That's a case where the IPO has been subscribed by 2 times. Okay. Now when that happens, the underwriting services is still required. You cannot really say that my company has got a very good brand image, So I am very, very sure that everything ends up getting subscribed. For example, Micromax might come out with a IPO in the days ahead. Even though Micromax is a very well-to-do brand, they cannot say that we will not take up underwriting services because our brand is very strong and people will confidently invest in our business. Then marketing. The best example I can think of for this would be when the first couple of seasons of IPL was launched, the first season of IPL rather, you had the IPL named as DLF IPL. If you remember, during the advertisements they would show the draft prospectus, the company prospectus of DLF during the advertisements. Now that's what they're doing. They're informing people about DLF. They're showing them that this is what DLF is into. Office complexes, residential blocks, DLF is doing this. When they talk about marketing, they just tell people what the company is. Nowhere are you allowed to tell them, put your money in our company and we will give you good returns. That's a very dangerous thing to do if you are running a company. SEBI has got very strict provisions related to that. What I remember DLF doing is they would just tell them that we are into the following constructions and nothing more than that. They were very, very careful in making sure that they didn't tell people that DLF is having large quantities of real estate property, so please put your money in our business. That's something which is not allowed in marketing. In the olden days, the agents of these companies would quite literally visit places where there were a lot of rich people so that they can market the shares to them and tell them that, look, this is a company, they're selling shares, please buy our shares. In fact, marketing of an IPO is also known as a dog or a pony show. The reason they call it as a dog or a pony show is because a lot of rich people would be present at these dog shows, these dog racing tracks and these horse racing tracks. So you would find a massive congregation of rich people. All you had to do is approach to them and tell them that a small company is selling shares. Are you interested to buy? And that can guarantee the investment into this company. So that's one more thing when it comes to marketing. Very important part that comes afterwards would be the accounting. Now, once people start buying the shares, this is going to, imagine this, when people buy the shares of a company, it's not just from one particular place. It's not from the metro cities. It's in fact from thousands of different locations all over India. You will have some person in some corner of Rajasthan who might be interested to buy shares. And when he gives money from his account to the company's account, definitely you should take into consideration the accounting part of that. And you can imagine this, there are thousands of people all over the country who are investing, and the various sources where the money would come from. Every little bit of cash that comes from every corner of India for this IPO must be accounted for. There is no scope of error that you would come across. I've seen students, I think in the 12th standard, do a small bit of the accounting of an IPO. The share application account, debit and credit, the share allotment account, debit and credit. That's the fundamentals, you could say, of IPO accounting. Now, once you've accounted for all the amount of cash, the cash is left in an account called as an escrow account. Now, an escrow account is a type of account that has got a particular purpose. Let's say if you want to create an escrow account for your son, you can say that whatever savings I'm going to dump in the escrow account should not be given to my kid unless and until I've turned 60. So even though, let's say I'm right now 27 and I've created an escrow account for my kid, let's say I happen to kick the bucket by I'm 30. Even though I've kicked the bucket at 30, that account cannot open till I'm 60. An escrow account is a type of account where you put across a condition. In an IPO, what they do is, until the total amount of funds which is supposed to come for that IPO has been fulfilled in that account, you cannot withdraw the funds. The largest IPO in India was Coal India Limited, where close to 15,000 crores was taken up by this IPO. Let's say Coal India Limited has received 10,000 or 11,000 crores. Until the entire amount of 15 has come into their account, they cannot touch the remaining funds. That's what they mean by an escrow account. Then comes the even more challenging part. The merchant banker services don't end here. Now, Coal India Limited has received all the amount which they were supposed to, and what are they going to do with this? The purpose of the funds would already be mentioned in the prospectus. Now the merchant bank should make sure that whatever funds they're getting from the people is going to be utilized for the requirements that has been put across in the prospectus. This is one of the most challenging things of a merchant banker when it comes to post-IPO management. That is, once the fund has been received, what is it that you're going to do with it? That's something which the merchant banker must take care of as well. Now, with this said, these are some of the things what a merchant banker is into. In India, we can refer to mostly as issue management and securities management. With this said, I hope you like this video. Do leave a comment if you like it, and please visit my website www.vipinmks.com. You could see the URL in the slide here. So please visit my website. There are a lot of articles related to management, finance, general articles as well. Do read them and do subscribe to my videos as well. Thank you for your time. Have a nice day.